The year was 3487, and humanity had conquered the stars. From the fringes of the Milky Way to the farthest reaches of known space, humans had made their mark on every habitable planet, establishing colonies, research outposts, and trade hubs across thousands of worlds. It was an era of unprecedented exploration. Yet, even as humanity grew in influence, there were still mysteries that eluded them, mysteries that no amount of knowledge, no matter how vast, could answer. Among the greatest enigmas of this age was the Architects, an ancient alien race whose existence had been theorized for centuries, but whose true nature remained frustratingly elusive. The Architects had been the origin of countless legends, myths, and conjectures. What was certain, however, was that they had left behind traces of their presence throughout the galaxy, strange signals, cryptic transmissions, and artifacts that hinted at an intelligence far beyond anything humanity had ever encountered. The Galactic Database, the greatest archive of knowledge ever assembled by humankind, held all known information about the Architects. It was the keystone of human exploration, containing everything from scientific research and star maps to ancient relics. Yet, despite its vastness, one mystery had remained unsolved: the final messages of the Architects. For the past 2 centuries, humanity had been sifting through the encrypted transmissions left behind by the Architects. These transmissions were bizarre, often incomprehensible, filled with complex mathematical patterns, strange symbols, and language constructs that defied all attempts at understanding. The last known signal from the Architects had arrived more than 200 years ago, and had abruptly ceased without explanation. For generations, it had been the subject of intense study, but no one had been able to decode the meaning behind their messages. And then, one day, it happened. Captain Kira Juno, a veteran officer of the Galactic Research Fleet, sat in her office aboard the Galileo, the flagship research vessel of the fleet. She had dedicated her entire career to studying the mysterious Architects and deciphering the cryptic signals they had left behind. The Galileo was currently stationed at the edge of the Kolmar Expanse, a region of space that had once been a hotbed of Architect activity. It was an area of space littered with artifacts, relics, and anomalies, objects that had fascinated researchers for decades. Kira had just finished reviewing the latest findings from a recent survey of an abandoned Architect structure when a notification appeared on her console. It was a routine update from the Galactic Database, one of the many systems she monitored daily. She tapped the notification, expecting the usual batch of data updates from remote outposts and research stations. But as she opened the file, her eyes narrowed in disbelief. The entry was labeled "The Last Entry." This was it. This was the moment every scholar and researcher in the galaxy had been waiting for. The last known signal from the Architects, the one that had disappeared so long ago, had finally been found. Kira's heart raced. She quickly opened the file, her mind already racing through possible explanations for what she was about to see. The message was unlike anything she had encountered before. It was short, simple, and yet unnervingly vague. Dear gods, they were just playing with us this whole time. Kira blinked, reading the message again. The words seemed almost casual. They carried no weight of grandiosity, no sense of mystery or purpose. It felt flippant, as if whoever had left this message had grown bored of the entire process. There was no code to crack, no puzzle to solve, no hidden meaning buried beneath layers of encryption, just these words. It didn't make sense. Eris, Kira muttered under her breath. Her AI assistant, Eris, was always nearby, constantly processing information and assisting in her research. The AI responded immediately, its voice clear and analytical. "Yes, Captain?" "Can you analyze this entry?" Kira asked, her voice tinged with curiosity. "It's different from anything we've seen before. See if there's anything we've missed." Eris was silent for a moment before responding. "Analyzing now. The message appears to be a simple text string. It does not seem to contain any encryption or hidden data. There is no anomaly in the language or structure." Kira furrowed her brow. "So, it's exactly what it appears to be? A direct message with no layers?" "That is correct, Captain. It is a straightforward communication. However, its implications are unusual. Given the context, it could suggest something far more complex beneath the surface, but as of now, no further information can be discerned." Kira leaned back in her chair, her fingers tapping lightly on the console. "It doesn't make sense. This feels too simple." "I agree," Aris replied. "It is inconsistent with the other known architect transmissions, which have all been far more elaborate and coded." Kira's thoughts swirled as she tried to piece together what this message could mean. She had spent her entire life studying the architects, trying to understand their technology, their intentions, and their ultimate purpose. Every signal, every piece of data had been a clue, a fragment of a puzzle. But now, with this one message, everything she thought she knew was called into question. "Could it be a mistake?" Kira asked aloud, mostly to herself. "A glitch in the system? A corrupted file?" Aris processed for a moment. "Unlikely, Captain. The transmission appears to have been deliberately placed into the database, with a timestamp that indicates it was intended to be discovered at this precise moment." Kira stood up from her chair and began pacing the room, deep in thought. The implications of this message were profound, but there was something else, something far more disturbing. She could feel it, deep in her gut. The architects had always been enigmatic, but they had also been purposeful in their designs. Every piece of data they had left behind, every transmission, had been part of a larger plan. But this message was different. This message felt like a joke, a game. It felt as if the architects had been toying with humanity all along, leading them to believe that there was some grand purpose, some ultimate goal that they could achieve if they just unlocked the secrets of the universe. But now, with these words, it seemed as if the architects were telling them something else. There was no purpose. There was no grand plan. They had been playing with humanity's search for meaning the whole time. The realization hit Kira like a ton of bricks. It was as if a veil had been lifted, revealing a truth that had been hidden in plain sight all along. Her mind raced with questions. Why had they done this? Why had the architects chosen to reveal themselves in this way? What were they trying to accomplish? "Ares," Kira said, her voice firm, "I want you to trace the origins of this message. Find out who— No, what put this into the database." "Understood, Captain," Eris responded. Kira watched as the screen before her flickered, lines of code and data cascading across it. Eris worked quickly, its algorithms processing the information at a speed far beyond Kira's comprehension. It was only moments before the AI spoke again. "Captain, the source of the message appears to be an anomaly in the Kolmar Expanse. It is a region of space that has been previously unexplored by our fleet. The signal has been traced to an unknown location approximately 3 light-years from here." Kira's heart skipped a beat. The Kolmar Expanse was a vast, desolate region of space, largely uncharted and unexplored. The idea that a signal had originated from there, especially one so clearly tied to the architects, was both exciting and terrifying. "Set a course for that location," Kira ordered, her voice steely with determination. "Prepare the crew for immediate departure." As the Galileo set its course toward the uncharted region of space, Kira felt the weight of the unknown bearing down on her. The mystery of the architects had just taken a new turn, one that would change everything, and she knew that once they reached the source of the message, there would be no turning back. What they discovered could shatter everything humanity thought it knew about its place in the universe. The journey ahead would be perilous, but Kira couldn't help but feel a strange sense of excitement mixed with dread, because now she knew the truth. The architects had never been interested in guiding humanity to greatness. They had simply been playing with them all along, and they were about to learn the rules of the game. The hum of the Galileo's engines was a steady, comforting sound as Captain Kira Juno gazed out from the observation deck. The stars outside the thick glass window were distant and cold, their light flickering like ancient memories. They had entered the Kolmar Expanse, a vast and mysterious region of space that few dared to venture into. There were legends about this place. Whispers of ancient civilizations, lost technologies, and the unexplained. But as far as the Galactic Research Fleet knew, the expanse had never been thoroughly explored. It was a graveyard of star systems, planets long dead or abandoned, and anomalies that made even the most experienced. But Kira's mission was clear. Find the source of the message, the last entry in the Galactic Database. The transmission had led them here, to a place so far from the familiar reaches of known space that Kira felt both the thrill of discovery and the creeping sensation of being on the edge of the abyss. She wasn't sure what they would find, but she was certain that it would change everything. "Captain," came the voice of Lieutenant Maris, one of the senior officers aboard the Galileo, breaking Kira's reverie. "We've reached the coordinates, scanning for any anomalies." Kira turned to face Maris, a woman who had served under her for years. The lieutenant was an expert in sensor analysis and navigation, and she had proven invaluable in the last few days as they ventured further into the Kolmar Expanse. "Good," Kira said, pushing away the nagging doubts in her mind. "Keep me posted. I want constant updates." Maris nodded, her fingers dancing over the console as she began the scans. The crew was tense, their every action sharp and methodical. They knew this could be their greatest discovery or their last. Kira couldn't shake the unease that had settled over her since the moment she had read the message in the database. Dear gods, they were just playing with us this whole time? It was a riddle that gnawed at her. Every piece of her professional training screamed for deeper analysis, for hidden meaning, for context. But the simplicity of the message was maddening. Who sent it? What did it mean? Had the architects been testing humanity, or was this some kind of cruel joke? "Captain," Maris's voice interrupted Kira's musings. "I'm picking up something. It's faint, but it's definitely a signal. It matches the patterns we've been studying, architectural signatures." Kira's pulse quickened. "Can you pinpoint the source?" "Yes," Maris replied, her voice tight with excitement. "There's a structure. It's not natural. It's artificial, and it's located on a planet, one that was thought to be uninhabitable. The atmosphere is toxic, and the surface temperature is extreme. It was catalogued as a dead world." Kira's heart sank, but she nodded resolutely. "We're going down. Prepare the landing team." The crew began their preparations with military precision. Within hours, the Galileo descended toward the planet's surface, its sleek hull cutting through the thick atmosphere. The planet below was a desolate, rocky landscape, a world battered by centuries of cosmic radiation. The clouds overhead were dense and storm-ridden, casting a dark pallor over the barren world. As the landing craft descended, Kira gazed out the small window, her thoughts racing. The planet was nothing like she had expected. Its surface was a cold, lifeless gray, but in the distance, the faint outline of a structure could be seen. A jagged, angular silhouette rising from the rocky terrain like a sentinel from another age. The ship landed with a soft thud, its stabilizers adjusting to the uneven ground. The door hissed open and Kira stepped out, her boots crunching against the dust. The atmosphere was harsh, but the protective suits they wore kept them safe from the planet's deadly gases. The rest of the team, armed and equipped for the mission, followed behind her, their movements swift and practiced. Kira led them toward the structure, her eyes fixed on the strange, towering form ahead. It was unlike anything she had seen before. Alien, but not like the smooth, organic designs of other known civilizations. This was something else, angular, precise, and cold. "Heads, Captain?" Maris's voice crackled over the comms. "I'm detecting structural readings. Something is active inside." Kira's stomach tightened. "How active? What are we looking at?" "It's hard to say. The scans are bouncing back from the surface. It's as though the structure is shielding its inner mechanisms. But it's definitely there." "We're not alone." Kira's pulse quickened. Not alone? Her mind raced. Was this a trap, a test, or had the architects, whoever they were, left something behind on this forsaken world? Something that had been waiting for them. "Stay alert," Kira ordered. "We move in." The group approached the entrance to the structure, a massive archway that loomed above them. Its surface was covered in strange markings, symbols and geometries that shifted subtly in the dim light. Kira's eyes flicked over them, but they were unlike anything she had seen in the Galactic Database. The language was unfamiliar, alien in every sense of the word. Mari stepped forward and began scanning the surface. "The entrance is locked, Captain, but the reading suggests that it's powered. If we can just find the activation sequence." "Don't rush it," Kira interrupted. "Take your time. We don't know what we're dealing with here." The team spread out, carefully examining the structure for any signs of entry. Minutes passed, but nothing happened. The air was thick with tension, and the only sound was the soft rustle of their suits against the desolate dust. Then, as if by some unseen force, the ground beneath their feet trembled. A low, rumbling noise echoed through the air. The symbols on the entrance shifted and a large section of the wall retracted, revealing a dark, cavernous interior. Kira's heart raced. The structure was alive, responsive. They had triggered something, but what? The dark corridor beyond the door beckoned, and she could feel an uneasy pull toward it. "Maris," Kira said, her voice steady but tinged with urgency. "Lead the way. Stay in formation. Eris, keep monitoring all systems." "Understood," Eris's voice echoed in her earpiece. "I will continue analyzing data and adjusting systems for optimal performance." The team entered the structure, the corridor stretching endlessly before them. The walls were smooth and metallic, the floor slightly inclined, guiding them deeper into the heart of the building. Lights flickered on overhead as they walked, casting an eerie glow over everything. The place felt ancient, long forgotten, but somehow still functional. It was as though time itself had stood still here. "Captain," Maris called softly from the front of the group, "I'm picking up energy signatures ahead. It's concentrated, almost like a core." Kira nodded, feeling the weight of her decision settle over her. They were about to discover something no one had ever seen before, something that could change everything humanity knew about the architects. Or perhaps, as the message suggested, there was nothing to discover at all. "Stay close," Kira ordered, her voice hard as they moved forward. They rounded a corner and entered a vast chamber. In the center of the room was a towering construct, an obelisk-like shape that seemed to pulse with energy. It was unlike anything Kira had ever seen. The surface shimmered with patterns that seemed to move on their own, shifting and changing, almost alive. The air felt thick with static, as though the very fabric of the universe was vibrating in this place. In front of the obelisk stood a console, one that seemed oddly familiar. It was a communication interface, similar to those found in the early architect Relics, but this one was active. The symbols on the screen shifted as Kira approached, a language that seemed both alien and familiar. The console hummed to life, and a voice crackled over the comm system. "Well, well, so you've come," the voice said, its tone mocking. "We were wondering when you'd figure it out." Kira froze. The voice was cold, distant, but it had a certain mockery to it, like the tone of an old friend making a joke at her expense. "Who is this?" Kira demanded, her voice tight with disbelief. A flicker on the console revealed an image. Something strange, something both ancient and new. It was a projection of a figure, its features shifting as if it couldn't decide what form it should take. It was humanoid but translucent, like an image suspended in a holographic field. "You're not the first to come here, Captain," the figure said, its voice dripping with amusement. "And you won't be the last. We've been watching, testing, playing with you for eons, all of you, and now here you are, at the very end of the game." Kira's heart pounded in her chest. "Who are you? What is this place?" The figure's form flickered and shifted again, becoming more defined, though still not fully corporeal. "Ah, the question. You always ask the same thing, don't you? It's so predictable, so human. You see, It paused, almost as if savoring the moment. "We were never interested in your answers, Captain. We just wanted to see how you would search for them." The figure chuckled darkly, and the air around them seemed to grow colder. "This is what we left behind. A game, a test, an endless puzzle. You thought there was meaning to it all, didn't you? That we had a purpose, but there was no purpose, no grand design. It was all just a game, one that you would never win." Kira felt the ground shift beneath her feet as the words hit her like a wave. The last entry in the Galactic Database wasn't a message, it was the punchline. She had been part of a cosmic joke, one that had no answer, no end. And the architects had just been playing with them the whole time? The cold air inside the architect's structure seemed to grow even more oppressive as the projection of the strange figure flickered before them. The room was dark, save for the eerie light emanating from the obelisk and the console. The walls, which had once seemed so sterile and unremarkable, now pulsed with an unsettling energy. The flickering figure on the console seemed to shift with every word, almost as if it were uncertain of how it wanted to appear. One moment it was humanoid, the next it was an abstraction, formless and chaotic. Kira stood frozen, her breath shallow in her chest, as the voice of the figure reverberated through the chamber. "You think you're special, don't you?" The voice was dripping with mockery, each word curling like smoke in the air. "You've come so far, through the galaxy, through years of searching, of striving to understand. But you're not the first to do so, Captain Juno. Oh, far from it. We've watched countless civilizations rise and fall, each one believing they were destined for greatness." Kira's mind spun. She knew the architects were enigmatic, but she had never imagined this. This was no discovery of ancient wisdom, no breakthrough in alien technology. This was something else entirely, a revelation, but not one of enlightenment. Instead, it was a door opening to a terrible and disorienting truth. "Who are you?" Kira asked, her voice hoarse with disbelief. She could feel the weight of the moment pressing on her, the intensity of the encounter threatening to overwhelm her. "What is this place? Why did you leave these messages for us?" The figure on the screen flickered again, momentarily assuming a more defined shape. A large, featureless humanoid form with translucent skin and hollow eyes. It was both terrifying and beautiful in its fluidity. The thing that had once been a cryptic projection now seemed amused. "Ah, the eternal question," the figure said with a twisted chuckle. "You all ask the same thing. What is the purpose? Why? The voice echoed in the chamber, growing louder and more insistent with each repetition. "Do you really think there is an answer, Captain?" The figure leaned forward, its hollow eyes staring directly at her. "There is no answer. There was never one. We did not create you. We did not shape your destiny. We simply watched you stumble through the cosmos, blind and hopeful, like children playing in the dark. We gave you nothing but the illusion of purpose." Kira's breath caught in her throat as the figure's words sank in. The illusion of purpose. The architects, these ancient beings she had spent her entire career trying to understand, were no different from the trickster gods of myth. They were not benevolent, not malicious. They were indifferent, detached. It was as if the entire universe was one great cosmic game, and they were the unseen players, watching from afar. "The messages," Kira whispered, her voice barely audible. "The puzzles, the codes, they were just a game?" "Ah, you finally get it," the figure said, its voice tinged with something like mock pride. "A game, a test, a performance for the amusement of those who were bored with their own existence. Every signal, every cryptic transmission, they were never meant to be solved. They were never meant to guide you. They were simply meant to make you chase after something that was never there." Kira stood in stunned silence, trying to process the revelation. Every sleepless night she had spent poring over architect transmissions, every expedition into the darkest corners of the galaxy to uncover their secrets, it had all been for nothing. The architects had never cared about her, about humanity, or about any of the other species they had left their cryptic puzzles for. They had just been playing a game with them all along. "I'd better listen," Kira finally asked, the word escaping her lips before she could stop it. "Why do this? Why leave the messages? Why not just leave us alone?" The figure's laughter echoed again, hollow and disembodied. "Leave you alone?" it repeated. "That would have been too easy, wouldn't it? No, Captain, we did not leave you alone because you are so much more entertaining when you chase after the unknown. Do you understand? You and all the others like you are part of the game we've played for eons. The illusion of discovery, the thrill of the chase, those are the things that entertain us. That's the game we created." Kira's fists clenched, and her body trembled with a mix of anger and disbelief. "You're telling me all of this? The architects, the messages, the relics? It was just a game?" Her voice wavered with a growing sense of frustration. "All of it, meaningless?" "Meaningless?" The figure tilted its head, as though it were genuinely considering her words. "Oh, I wouldn't say that. There is meaning, Captain Juno, but not the kind you were hoping for. The meaning is in the search, the journey, the struggle, the belief that there is something to find, something to achieve. That is where the meaning lies, if you choose to see it that way." Kira's mind reeled. The weight of it all hit her like a tidal wave. The years she had spent deciphering architect signals, the countless hours spent poring over their artifacts, their messages, all of it had been a diversion. It had all been meant to lead them in circles, to keep them chasing shadows, to give them the illusion of something greater. The architects were nothing more than cosmic tricksters, Kira muttered bitterly, more to herself than anyone else. She felt her stomach churn. Her entire life, her work, her devotion to this mission, it had all been for nothing. The figure's voice softened, almost contemplative. "Not for nothing, Captain, not for nothing. We gave you something you wanted more than anything else, a purpose. You searched, you worked, you believed in the answers, you believed that there was a meaning to the chaos, a grand design waiting to be uncovered, and that belief, that search, gave you meaning. It gave you something to hold on to." The figure's form began to flicker, its image distorting as if it were losing coherence. "But that belief," it continued, its voice growing distant, "was always your own, not ours." Kira felt a deep emptiness settle in her chest. She had believed, just as the figure had said. She had believed in the purpose, in the idea that there was something more to uncover. The last transmission from the architects, the one that had brought them here, was not a revelation. It was a final, sardonic taunt. Dear gods, they were just playing with us this whole time. Kira let out a slow breath, the sting of bitter realization washing over her. She had been played, and now she understood that this moment, this truth, was not a discovery. It was an end. The last twist in a game that had no winners. Mara stepped forward, her voice tentative. "Captain, what does this mean? What do we do now?"